Welcome back to the Barebow Project. This is episode 95 with Hoyt Target Archery Recurve brand manager, Mr. Doug Denton, and our Barebow shooting staff, Mr. John Demmer, Matt Yaka, and Robbie Weisinger, and myself, just bringing you the up close and personal information about the new 25 and 27-inch GMX3 Series and the Barebow weights and the axial limbs. It's a two-part podcast, so make sure you check out 99.
Probably want to wipe that chat off too.
Oh, they can't see the chat.
Okay, good, because
I don't see why you can't buy Yakas, because Yaka can't shoot. I know Matt didn't address it, but
where's this coming from? Why are we picking on Matt today?
It's right when we go live, Matt. You should know this by now.
why we can shoot, you can't shoot.
or just buy Frank, because Frank can't shoot anyway.
No, I'm not shooting
He
anything.
can't shoot when he was healthy.
When did it start happening that I can't shoot?
When you said you had to have surgery, bro.
I'm fine. I missed one big tournament this year. That's it. I shot at Nationals. I shot at Vegas. I shot at Lancaster. Podium.
You said you're going in for the rotator cuff surgery.
That's gonna be. I'll be there next week. Don't you worry. This week I'll be there. I'll be on the podium, and it'll be right next to me. Will be this guy Robbie, and I don't know who'll be in third.
Are you shooting in the ladies class or something?
You're gonna have more future stars than Jack-o'-lantern.
No. Maddie's old enough for the old man class.
I am, but I'm right there with you, young bucks.
Oh man,
But still eligible for the old man records.
shit's getting
That's right.
deep.
Always is
It's
deep.
getting deep. We are live, just so you guys know. I want to reiterate that. Wait,
I feel bad for Doug.
I love
really
you
do.
guys. I
Like,
just
sorry
want to
for him.
reiterate that. Doug doesn't know what he's in for.
No.
We should have warned him.
This is going to be the beginning of the end of any sponsored Barebow archers.
Correct. Correct. Good luck getting a contract next year, boys. I've
Yeah.
seen what you do.
I'll tell you, you'll never see a podcast anywhere else with some of their pro staff and their shooters and the brand manager for that specific company. Maybe this is why right here we're breaking the mold, and once it's broken, it's done. Who knows? All right, gentlemen, we're here. I am joined with Robbie Weisinger, Matt Yaka, John Demmer, and the Recurve brand manager for Hoyt Archery, Mr. Doug Denton. Doug, welcome to the Barebow Project.
No, well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Good, man. This is definitely, like I said, this is a little bit of a different feel of a podcast. I will guarantee you that. From what you're typically maybe used to. But we're here to focus on some very important details, and that being the new GMX3 Series riser that Hoyt recently released, the stellar Barebow weight that I have sitting here in front of me. We'll talk about that a little bit. The new axial limbs, and really the story behind and how the new riser came to be. We were last year at Target Nationals. Some of us had opportunity to get an XD in our hand. I think it was actually shortly after Nationals, if I remember correctly. You guys were shooting your Exceeds. John, I think you were shooting maybe the Epic, or were you shooting the XD? I don't remember which one. But that was last year.
It would have been the Epic or XI.
Epic or XI. We had a conversation, or I had a conversation with Doug in regards to like, hey, there's a few things that we would love to see incorporated in a future riser, if that is even remotely feasible. And Doug was like, talk to me. Just let's see what's going on. There was a room full of people. We sat down, we had some discussions, we came up with some specific features. And it's funny because after we all kind of had our little powwow and we chatted about it, and I talked to Doug, I was like, well, that's a good to know, because we already have this planned. They're already ahead of the game. And before you know it, the GMX came to real life. And I guess, Doug, let's talk about some of those features and talk about the story behind the GMX. And I'm so happy to have a 27 in my here ready to shoot. Let's talk about some of those ideas and the things that came forward and why we did that, as far as the the ideas that we came with Barebow. All right.
Yeah, rewind back to that conversation that, a lot of the team members, on this call helped with, and the ideas. And it was really refreshing when I got that list and that email that I could just check the box that, yep, got that one knocked out, got that one knocked out. It's, people have asked me, when's your start and when's your finish on when you're designing product? And man, I'm never not thinking of how to improve something, and never not working on the next version of whatever it might be. And that's why I was able to be, call it, ahead of the game a little bit with the GMX3 series. I had a lot of ideas from working with everyone on this call, and asking and picking their brains and learning, because first and foremost, one, I could never design the product that I design if it wasn't for you guys. And it wasn't for the rest of the world, from the most elite archers on the Olympic field to literally the beginner that just got their first bow, and they run into me at a seminar, whether it's, here in the US or somewhere over in Europe or Asia, and they go, hey, have you ever thought of this? It is truly the ideas of the world that allow me to be able to do what I do. I've been playing archery fundamentally my whole life, been playing Olympic archery and recurve archery for knocking on the door of 30 years. But that doesn't mean anything if I didn't have literally the world to be able to chat with. So the information I got from all you guys on the Barebow piece of it, man, was so essential. And it just helped me to validate my theories and thoughts, and that really started with the Formula XD. When I shifted that grip down, we actually tested that geometry of a shifted grip geometry bow for over 2 years. So I had archers at the Olympic level shooting at World Cup finals, at World Cup events, at their national type events, and winning with a bow that looked like the Formula XI, but was actually the geometry of the Formula XD, so that shifted grip. And that helped me validate the theories of, can we really change the geometry? Can we make a better recurve bow? Because that's the goal, is to make a more forgiving, more accurate bow. And then when John and Maddie and Robbie started shooting, and Frank, you yourself started shooting the Formula XD and testing that out, I didn't know if it would really work the way I hoped it would for Barebow, but it did. And if it wasn't for you guys giving me the thumbs up, man, we wouldn't have the GMX3 the way it is today. It truly is because of you guys.
I think part of the conversation when we all did sit down and talk, and that same conversation continued over the last year. Once everybody got their hands on the XD, like, everybody was like, yeah, this bow definitely shoots. Even it's the formula setup, that lower grip, it definitely aimed in a way that maybe was a little bit better than what we were used to with the Exceed, for sure. And then that sort of verified, like, okay, if we could just keep these same principles of what's going on with the XD and forward that to this new riser, because we didn't know what the name was going to be. And then, have the dampeners and the limb pockets, be able to have a little bit more options as far as where the weight's going to go, and a few other things that came about throughout this past year. So let's get into those details about this riser that make it so special.
It really is the fundamental core engineering that I do behind all of the Hoyt recurve bows, which is, first and foremost, we coined it, dynamics flex control. And that, at the end of the day, what that means is I want the bow, the top and bottom limb pocket to flex equally with the limbs. So now you have a riser that works with the recurve limb. Shifting the weight of the riser to push it out to the ends, even though the GMX3 series, it's a little bit more difficult to see that we actually have more of the mass towards the ends of the pocket. That is really key to make the bow feel more stable. Not during, not just when you're aiming the bow, but actually upon the release, the bow has a very stable and forgiving platform in that aspect. And then throwing in our 360-degree dampeners into the pockets helps, absorb some of that vibration that is just inherently within all recurve bows, regardless of the materials that the riser might be made out of. But the big piece, the piece that I think most people don't even realize, is shifting that grip down. When we shift that grip down, it changes how that bow holds and aims. You're pressuring in the throat of the grip. But more importantly, I think it actually changes the knock travel. And it's something that people don't talk about. Matter of fact, I think I might have been the first person to ever really talk about it on an Olympic recurve, on a recurve platform at all, is all recurves have downward knock travel. And we've gotten more aggressive limbs, or more limbs, or the limbs that are engineered with the carbon skins. So I'm saying more aggressive. And what I mean by that is they're just high performance recurve limbs. The aero technology really hasn't necessarily kept up with the technology of the recurve limbs. So what we see is a breaking down of the spine of the arrow. And what I mean by that, we all know about the archer's paradox, that the arrow flexes into the cushion plunger, and we get that kind of like that S shape or the snake look when you look at high speed video. But what no one ever talks about is the buckling effect that happens on arrows. So we have this downward knock travel, and that downward knock travel actually will buckle the arrow. So what we've seen at the Olympic level is knocking points having to go higher and higher and higher as we get more high performance limbs. And that makes the arrows and the bows and the setup so critical to tune. And you really have to tinker with your arrows to get the optimum forgiveness out of that setup. But by lowering that grip, it lowers that knock travel. And with lowering that knock travel, it reduces that buckling, and then makes the arrows more forgiving, more accurate. It just cleans up a lot of issues that we've seen throughout the years with recurve bows. So I think that shifting in that geometry is really key. But when you throw in all the other features that we have, it truly becomes a bow that is really customizable for all the archers out there, because we're all different. We all have different shapes of hands. We're all different draw lengths, different builds. And then, you incorporate the string tension technology that we have in the dovetail pockets, which is how we can change the overall feel of that limb within the same riser. It's pretty cool to have. And then we have the vertitune plates, and changing that rest location. And I know for the Barebow piece, it's the high plate or the medium plate. No one ever goes to the low, because you can't get clearance around the shelf with your crawl and walking the string there. So then when you tie all that together, I think it just becomes the perfect storm of the most forgiving, accurate recurve bow that we can make.
Perfect. You guys that are with us, John, Matt, and Robbie, you've had more opportunity to shoot this bow than anybody else so far. Especially, I know Robbie and Matt, you've been playing quite a bit. What's your feeling so far, just to feel from XD to this, and your experiences so far with this riser in your hand? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was kind of neat in the beginning when the XD came out, and I begged for the XD riser, because there are some risers I'm not a huge fan of, and there's some that I really, really like. And I was kind of excited to try this one because it was a little bit different than what we've shot in the past, and I'm a huge fan of the old Epic. And got my hands on that XD, and it was a little different to tune it at first because I think because of the shift. So I had to, mess around with the knock height a little bit. But man, once I got it set up and cranking, like I immediately got a hold of Robbie and Maddie. I'm like, dude, you guys need to ask for an XD. Because stop shooting what you're shooting and just get your hands on the XD. And I believe both of them started shooting a little bit better with the XD, more consistent. And we were all excited, after that shift to see what was going to come out with the ILF version.
Perfect.
Yeah, I got my XD in Vegas at the Vegas shoot. Doug gave it to me the day I arrived, and I set it up that day and shot the championship division with it that weekend. And that's how fast I tuned that bow. Like, it just came right together super fast. We had to mess with the weight. I messed with weighting a little bit. I made the mass in the riser a little heavier. I think because I was just drawing pretty heavy too at the time. I had those limbs all the way cranked down, and I think just the way I had it weighted just helped out. Shooting a heavier arrow to aluminum heavy arrow. But man, I tuned that bow so fast, just in one night. And the same with this new bow. I tuned that bow in 1 hour before a doctor's appointment. I sent Doug some pictures and told him how I did. I didn't shoot it the next day. I went out 2 days later and I shot that 666 score. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it was, just 2 hours of tuning that bow, and it was just dialed in. It seemed to come together so easy for me. I don't know what it was, but it's magic.
Yeah, and for me, I think Robbie's the same for the XD and the GMX3. They're basically the same tune, 25 to 25. My 27, it seems to want like a half a spine weaker arrow, or I just need to add another pound and a half to get the same tune. But I'm excited with the GMX because we do have some more weighting options. I think that was my biggest complaint with the XD. It shot great. Just had to manipulate the weights a little bit for Barebow to get it less torquey. I had to get like a back kicker on the end of mine to get it to not like rotate a little bit. But with the GMX3 having that lower stab bushing as well, I think that's a lot easier to fix. That's why I always thought the ILF version for Barebow was a little bit better, because we do have a couple more stab bushings than the formula, because we run out of room with that long lever.
Good stuff. Robbie, anything?
So I got my XD probably, I think the end of February, and I set it up. I was shooting really well this whole last indoor season, and I'm very timid to change when things are going super, super well. But just like with everybody else, I set that bow up, the XD, super, super quick. It shot really well. I sticked with my Exceed to finish stuff out. And then when I went to outdoor season, it was like immediately worlds better than what I was shooting last outdoor season. I think it was just a basic quick bear shaft tune, set everything up, make sure it hits the middle, and I was already shooting like at or above world record pace in practice. And that was like, for me, I had never been anywhere close to that. So I just kind of blew my mind right off the bat. The same weighting issues. I couldn't run a really heavy bow because of the weight options. When I tried to really stack up the weight on the limb bolt, and the bow did not like that. So I had to back that off, and I got the weighted things for the pockets, the 3.5 ones from Ramrods. That seemed to help the bow sit pretty well for me. And I was very consistent in my scores, consistently higher than I've ever shot. And then when I got the GMX, I got it last Wednesday. It showed up at my door. I was at a business trip until Thursday night. I threw it together, got a rough tune Thursday night, shot it Friday afternoon, and it was already on pace with the XD. And the nice part was I could get the bow to actually sit more how I wanted because I was able to play with wear and how many weights I actually put on the bow. So I had got the bow a little bit heavier than what the XD was, and it's shooting just as well, if not better.
Good
So
stuff.
right off the bat, I shot a tournament with it the day after I tuned it, and it was
What do you
40
feel
points
different?
higher than I ever shot.
What do you feel is different? Like the shot feel, reaction compared to the Exceed?
Compared to the Exceed,
Yeah, because we're comparing ILF to ILF.
yeah, ILF to ILF. I mean, my Exceed was loud, characteristically loud, shocky. It still shot well, but it wasn't near as pleasant as the GMX is. The GMX is like a dream to shoot. Very soft on the shot. I like the reaction out of my hand. Yeah.
I concur with what he's saying, like spot on. You know, one of the things I noticed shooting just over the years with different types of wood recurves or longbows for that matter, the softer bow at shot, I tend to shoot better. I don't know if I'm expecting it or if there's something about that this new GMX, it's just like butter. Like you shoot it and it's just very soft. I wouldn't say that Exceed is harsh or shocky, but I think the noise, to me, it's loud. I have to put, dampeners on the limbs and just to keep it down. And it's just louder when it's barebow. When I've shot that Exceed set up as an Olympic recurve with the stabilizer bars, you don't get the same noise. You don't get the same feel. Obviously the weight and the dampeners eat that up, but by itself as a barebow, it was definitely louder, definitely not, the feedback was a little more aggressive is the best way to explain it than this new GMX. This is very soft and it's very quiet.
I would say the Exceed, it was like when you shot it, it felt like you felt everything. Like if that bow was moving a little bit, you felt like you were very intimate with that riser. Like you got everything, you got all the feedback coming right back to you. Where the GMX, it seems like the XD it's like everything's a little bit more cushioned. You don't get that that direct reaction to your hand, or like if you tweak just a little bit, that Exceed seemed to track straighter. If that makes sense, like if you mess up just a little bit, it seems like that arrow would impact where you messed up. Where the GMX and Axia seems to be like a little bit more forgiving, like a slingshot or something, where you got that little bit of flexibility and it's like coming back down a little bit. It's not like just propelling in one direction.
John, could you tell me the difference that you feel between the GMX3 series versus the Epic? Because you've been a big fan of the Epic and you had a lot of success with that riser, and just having that differences in those feedbacks, that could be very helpful for me.
Well, I've been hurt recently, so I haven't shot a whole lot. It does feel a smidge softer. The grip pressure has definitely changed a little bit. Yeah, that's all I can kind of right now, because I actually only shot I finally set up a tune today with the 25. I had to take almost a week off from shooting and doing anything, trying to get the back flare taken care of. So it's kind of frustrating because I had a couple people ask me about it, and I'm like, I'm not going to give you feedback or honest feedback if I can't put a little bit of time behind the thing,
Sure.
like a month, at least a month. I got to get past that initial tune phase before. But it does feel, the initial feel is softer. The grip pressure definitely changed. The one thing I had issues with other bows in the past was probably what you said, like the knock travel was, it was harder for me to get a bare shaft. They seem to be more sensitive. This one seems to be a lot easier, quicker to get a knock tune right. I know I've had that in the past before. But the Epic was pretty easy to set up too. So it's kind of like there's a lot of similarities with the Epic than with the GMX. to narrow it down a little bit more. I'll need a little bit more time.
Okay.
Easy enough. So in regards to those specific features, let's just run down all of them, Doug. Some of the key features, both from the Olympic side and obviously the Barebow stuff, before we kind of tackle talking about the limbs and the weight.
Yeah, the features really become what I hit on earlier, which is the how the bow's engineered with the flex of it. Again, that's where I always start, because I just have found that it's so critical. The overall mass weight is something that we don't talk about of a riser very often. I would say, the riser series, the Prodigy series that I designed many years ago now, was the lightest weight riser that I've ever engineered. And I really thought that that's what the world was telling me. And man, I couldn't have swung and missed any bigger than that. Although there's a lot of archers that had a lot of success with that. But what I have learned is, with a Grand Prix riser, in order for it to really be like a premier product and be more forgiving for all athletes, and it's really that 2.8 to 3 pound, just the riser itself. You need to hit that. And if you don't, I tell you what, it's not going to be what everyone is looking for. So that's first and foremost. I knew I wanted to have around a 2.9 pound riser. And I actually took that from the GMX, because when I looked at the GMX, the original GMX, it was 2.9 pounds. And we had male archers that really worked well with, but also female archers. So I knew that overall mass weight would work across the board. And I knew how critical it was to have the right mass weight. So, check that box. And then, moving the as much of the mass in the design of that riser to the pockets, that's a checkbox number 2. The design and overall flow of that riser, I wanted to make it as sleek as I possibly could. Honestly, based off of some of John's comments about how he really liked the Epic. And the Exceed, as we all know, was quite a bit wider riser. And that was my first attempt to try to move some of that mass to the pocket ends. And that's why it kind of got chunky there towards the ends of the pockets. But I figured out a more efficient way to shove that mass where I needed it. And so, that was kind of checking that box again. And then when we throw in all of the other features that we already had, which was the dampeners in the pockets, man, getting rid of some of that residual vibration, checking another box. But also, we can remove those dampers and you can put weights internally. The ramrod weights still fit into it. And those guys have done a great job with the tungsten dampening technology that they have patented. Really cool stuff that they got going. But also we have our weights that come with the Formula XD that can fit right into those pockets as well. And you can stack some additional weights into the pocket of the GMX3 to give, again, some balance. Now, when you put those weights in, you can't have the dampener in. So, I would always recommend putting it in the bottom pocket and not the top. So keep the dampener in the top. If you want to add a little bit more of mass, you can throw that into the bottom pocket, but you will have to remove that the dampener. And then right along with the string tension technology with the dovetail blocks that we have, I think that's one of the features that I've engineered that I was probably the most excited about when I actually engineered it, but the least used. When I start talking to archers throughout the world at the World Championships, and just everyone that I get to talk with, people typically don't play with that. And man, I would really, really recommend people to play with it and really find what works the best for each archer.
Well, I think that's a great part of that riser that's probably like the least talked about. Like you said, it's so customizable. If you want something a little bit softer in the back end or a little bit like harder, like you're almost it's more uniform, where like you get like a spongy riser or a spongy set of limbs, like you might blow through your draw check, or just your natural holding position a lot easier if it's spongy, when everything gets under a little tension, like at a tournament, where you can you can customize it a little bit by running it a little bit more aggressive on the string tension, and you're going to gain just a little bit more poundage on the fingers, and you're going to reach that, and you're going to feel it a little better. Where some people want it a little bit spongier. That's an option that like people don't really talk about much, but that's what you did is it's great because you can customize the feel how you want it. You can customize like the button location. It's a great it's a great feature that you don't get with a lot of other things. And the other thing that I like, I personally like shooting like a quote unquote Olympic riser is the designer didn't make the weight and put it in a certain location where they think it's best. You can customize it however you want with all those bushings and put the weight where you want it. If that bow is like kicking back, okay, you can put it in the bottom. If it's kicking forward, okay, you can put it on the back side of it. You can put that mass essentially wherever you want and make that riser however you want.
Yeah, and I think that's really key piece of it too. The other thing too is just because you start off in one of those the settings for the dovetail block with the string tension technology we have, doesn't mean that's where you're going to end up at the end of the year. I have a lot of archers that tell me, when they take, call it the late summer or early fall, they end up taking a break, and that break might be a month or longer. And then when they come back into shooting and they're getting into the indoor season, they actually put their tensions to the smooth setting. So the dovetail block where you move those pads all the way into the riser, so it's as smooth as it possibly can be. And they'll shoot that for a number of weeks, if not months. And then they'll slowly start to progress and put those blocks out to the most, the high performance setting, because when they get under pressure and as their body gets stronger, they need something a little bit more to pull against. So I would also throw out there that as our shots changes, as we get stronger, as the year progresses, don't be scared to change some of those features. Just because it was working for you, 2 months ago or a year ago, doesn't mean that's where our bodies are right now, and doesn't mean that's where it's going to be the optimum place for it as well.
Hey, all, that concludes episode 95. Please go to the next episode, 96, where we continue the conversation with the Barebow weight, the new axial limbs, as we had some technical difficulties and had to cut out. It was a good time to start a new episode anyways, so go check that out. Thank you again.